In the heart of a bustling city stands a renowned hotel. It is the kind of place where guests expect top-tier service and luxury. A towering building, its glass windows glimmering under the sun, the lobby sleek with modern decor. This hotel is a symbol of exclusivity, where the rich and famous often come and go. It is a place where reputation matters, a reputation built on decades of service and high standards. But today, something is about to go horribly wrong. David, a well-dressed black man in his early 30s, walks into the lobby with his friend. They have been traveling for hours, and all they want is a quiet place to rest. David, having worked hard to get where he is in life, is accustomed to the finer things. His friend is more laid back, just looking forward to the night off. They approach the front desk, ready to check in. Behind the counter is the female hotel manager. She is in her mid-40s, with an air of authority and confidence. Her job requires her to be vigilant, ensuring that everything runs smoothly in the hotel. But her gaze quickly shifts as David and his friend approach. David greets her with a polite smile, but there is an almost immediate tension in the air. The manager looks at them, then at the computer screen, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. A brief pause hangs in the air, long enough for David to feel something isn't right. After a moment, she tells them that there are no rooms available. David, surprised, asks if there is anything else available, maybe a smaller room. He has been traveling for hours and just wants a place to sleep. The manager repeats her response, colder this time. She claims the hotel is fully booked. David's confusion grows. The hotel doesn't seem busy. There aren't many guests in sight. And why was he being turned away? His friend, sensing the discomfort, gently nudges him. "Let's check another place," he suggests. But David stands firm, not understanding why they are being denied service. After a tense back and forth, it becomes clear. The reason isn't about availability. It is something more personal, something racial. David and his friend are being judged, not by their ability to pay, but by something they can't change. This moment marks the start of a series of events that will not only shake the hotel industry, but change David's life forever. The hotel manager watches as David and his friend stand before her, waiting for a room that she knows won't be available to them. She can feel the weight of their gaze on her, but there is something in her that's determined to stand her ground. As she looks at them, she finds herself caught between two worlds, the professional role she has been trained for, and her own personal judgments that have quietly shaped her decisions. From her perspective, the situation seems simple. The hotel is exclusive. It caters to high-profile clients, people who value privacy and discretion. She has had issues before with guests who didn't fit the right image, those who made the hotel look less polished, less prestigious. Her mind races with the images of other guests, the ones who belong. And in that moment, David and his friend don't fit her standard. She hesitates, fingers tapping nervously against the counter. She knows it's a gamble to refuse them, but in her mind, the risk of having the wrong people in the hotel outweighs anything else. "We don't have any available rooms," she says firmly, almost mechanically. It is the kind of response she has given before, when the situation was more clear-cut. The hotel, in her eyes, deserves a certain kind of clientele, one she deems appropriate. David's confusion grows, his brow furrows. He has been to upscale hotels before, never facing this kind of treatment. He can feel the sting of the refusal, but what's worse is the underlying tone, the way he is being judged without ever being given a fair chance. His voice wavers slightly as he presses, asking for any kind of accommodation, even a smaller room. His frustration is mounting. The manager doesn't budge. To her, it is just a policy. The hotel's reputation, she thinks, is too important to risk for what seems like an inconvenience. But to David, it feels like something much deeper. It is a denial not of a room, but of his worth, of his right to be treated equally. David tries to keep his composure. He has traveled across the country, worked tirelessly to get where he is, and yet here, in this lobby, He is being made to feel less than. The hurt is palpable. It is not just the rejection. It is the quiet but unmistakable sense of being seen as undeserving, simply because of who he is. David and his friend exchange a glance. David's disappointment is clear, but so is his resolve. He knows this moment is more than just about finding a place to sleep. It is about something bigger, something that will change everything. David stands outside the hotel, his fists clenched, his mind racing. He is hurt, frustrated, but most of all, determined. This isn't just about getting turned away at the door. It is about a principle that has been ignored. The sting of the manager's cold dismissal lingers, but he knows reacting impulsively won't help him now. This moment, this injustice, deserves a response that will make her and the hotel understand the consequences of their actions. He takes a deep breath. There is no need to rush. He could go on Twitter, post about it, and let the world know what happened. That might make a statement, but it wouldn't make the manager truly face what she did. No, David decides. This requires something more calculated, something that will leave a mark on the hotel, not just the manager's reputation. For the next few hours, David sits in a quiet cafe nearby, his laptop open, his fingers tapping thoughtfully against the keys. He is calm, thinking through every possibility. It is not about an emotional outburst. It is about making sure the hotel feels the weight of what they have done. He isn't going to let the manager's prejudice slide by unnoticed. David knows that, as frustrating as it is, this hotel isn't just any hotel. It is one with a name, a history, and a reputation to protect. He has already been in the hotel industry long enough to understand its inner workings. He is no stranger to how things like this can snowball, especially when it involves high-profile clientele and the public eye. He starts by researching the hotel's ownership, the people who run the place, the people who make the real decisions behind the scenes. As the hours pass, David starts putting his plan into motion. He contacts a few key people, people who have connections to the hotel's investors and owners. He is careful about the details, making sure he doesn't reveal his intentions too early. He knows this has to be handled delicately. A direct confrontation with the manager could make things personal, but David isn't after just a personal apology. He is after something that will make sure no one forgets this moment. In the meantime, he does his best to stay calm, appearing just like any other businessman. He carries on with his day, his mind focused on what's coming next. The hotel manager has no idea what's coming her way. David's not about to let her off the hook so easily. He is going to make her understand exactly how wrong her actions were and how costly they could be for the hotel. David continues to plan. Each step is deliberate, each move thought through carefully. It is not revenge driven by anger. It is a calculated response. The kind of response that will make sure no one in the industry forgets what happened. And more importantly, the kind that will hold the manager accountable for her actions. The next day, David walks into the hotel again, but this time, there is no confusion about who he is. He is not the tired traveler from the day before, looking for a simple place to rest. No, today, he carries an air of authority that wasn't there yesterday. He is calm, composed, and exudes a quiet confidence that draws immediate attention. David isn't alone this time. Walking beside him is his business partner, a sharp, well-dressed woman with a presence that matches David's. Together, they move through the hotel's entrance like they belong there, and they do. The manager, still behind the front desk, looks up, her face briefly lighting up with recognition. She remembers David, of course. How could she forget the man she turned away the previous day? For a moment, the manager's smile falters as she sees the two of them standing there, looking every bit the part of high-profile hotel owners. David glances around the lobby with a calm gaze. There is no hurry in his movements. He is not here to cause a scene, at least not yet. His eyes briefly meet the manager's, and her expression shifts. Something between guilt and uncertainty flickers across her face. She can't know it yet, But David's return is about to turn her entire world upside down. "Good afternoon," David says, his voice measured but firm. The manager stammers a greeting, trying to mask the nervousness creeping into her tone. David's business partner takes the lead, her presence commanding attention. "We're here to meet with the general manager," she says smoothly, showing the professionalism and authority that comes with years of experience in the business world. The manager stumbles for a moment, glancing back at the computer, her fingers hovering over the keys. She knows something is off now. There is no way these two are just casual guests. But before she can say anything, David steps forward, his calm voice cutting through the awkward silence. "I'm David," he begins, giving the manager a small but meaningful smile. "And I believe we spoke yesterday." The manager's face pales. She is now piecing it together. The man she had turned away the day before, David, wasn't just a random guest. He wasn't some tourist passing through. He was someone who owned part of the very industry she worked in. She had no idea who she was dealing with when she made the decision to turn him away. The weight of the situation hits her. She tries to recover, forcing a smile, but David isn't fooled. "I'm the co-owner of the Redwood Hotel Group," David continues, his words hanging in the air. "Along with my partner here." He gestures to his business partner, who smiles politely but with a quiet assurance. The manager stands frozen, her mouth dry. She is at a loss for words, trying to wrap her mind around the revelation. David lets the silence linger, knowing the effect his words are having. He watches as the manager shifts uneasily, clearly regretting the decision she made just a day earlier. But regret won't fix the damage done. It won't erase the look of surprise and embarrassment that's starting to creep onto her face. The hotel lobby, once a place of calm luxury, now feels charged with an unspoken tension. David and his partner stand tall, not as guests, but as the very people who could change the future of this establishment. The power has shifted. The roles have reversed. Now, it is the manager who is on the back foot, unsure of what comes next. The reality of the situation begins to sink in. David and his partner are no longer visitors. They are owners, with the power to affect everything from the operations of the hotel to the very direction in which it is headed. David stands firm, never losing his composure. His business partner remains a steady presence at his side, and together, they are a force the manager can no longer ignore. The dynamic has shifted in an instant. The once comfortable power imbalance has been shattered. David and his partner are the ones who now hold the cards. The manager has unknowingly placed herself at the mercy of those she sought to dismiss. David steps through the hotel's entrance with a calm stride, his eyes scanning the familiar lobby. Nothing has changed since yesterday. The sleek, polished floors, the bright lights above, the understated elegance of the decor, all of it remains unchanged. But David knows that everything is about to shift. He is not the same man who walked in here yesterday, looking for a room, only to be turned away. Today, he carries the weight of his knowledge, the quiet power that comes with it. He spots the manager behind the front desk almost immediately. She is busy with some paperwork, her back to him for the moment. But David knows she'll recognize him the second she looks up. There is a brief, almost imperceptible pause before the manager finally turns her attention toward the lobby. The moment their eyes meet, David sees it, the flash of recognition in her eyes, followed by the quick flicker of hesitation. She is aware of who he is, even if she doesn't fully understand the significance yet. David walks up to the desk, and without skipping a beat, he greets her. "Good morning," he says, his voice steady and even. The manager looks flustered for a second, clearly thrown by his calm demeanor. She starts to smile, the kind of smile someone gives when trying to cover up a mistake, but it's stiff, forced. "Good morning, sir. How may I assist you today?" Her words are polite, but there's a nervous edge to her tone. She can't quite mask her discomfort. David doesn't immediately respond. Instead, he stands there for a beat, letting the silence grow, watching her shift uncomfortably. It's clear she's unsure how to proceed, unsure whether to offer an apology or to pretend like nothing happened. Finally, David speaks, his words crisp and deliberate. "I'm sure you remember me from yesterday." He pauses, watching her face. The manager's eyes dart away for a second, her breath catching in her throat. She knows where this is going. "I'm the man you turned away. The one you said you had no room for." The words hang in the air, thick with the tension between them. The manager's smile falters, and for a brief moment, David can see the panic in her eyes. She opens her mouth, as though trying to explain herself, but the words don't come. She knows she's trapped in this moment, caught between the memory of her previous decision and the growing realization of the gravity of her mistake. "I didn't mean to," she begins, but David cuts her off. He doesn't need to hear her excuses. He's already heard enough. "It wasn't just the room, was it?" he asks, his voice low but firm. The manager flinches slightly, her discomfort becoming more apparent. "You didn't turn me away because the hotel was full. You turned me away because of who I am, and that's a problem." The manager opens her mouth again, but no sound comes out. She knows he's right. She knows she's made a judgment based not on facts, but on something far less justifiable. The weight of the moment presses down on her, and for the first time, she starts to fully grasp the consequences of her actions. David watches her, his gaze unwavering. The power in the room has shifted. Yesterday, she had the upper hand, dismissing him as just another guest. Today, David holds the power, and she knows it. The realization is beginning to dawn on her. This isn't just about a mistake at the front desk. This is about something far deeper, something far more serious. The manager looks down, unable to meet his gaze, her face flushed with embarrassment. Her mistake wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a reflection of her biases, and now she has to confront the fact that her actions could cost her much more than a simple apology. David stands there, his posture composed, his expression steady. The hotel manager, on the other hand, is visibly unraveling. Her hands tremble slightly as she fumbles with the pen in front of her. She's trapped in this moment, unable to escape the reality that her actions yesterday have brought her to this point. David's calm presence only heightens her panic. There's no outburst, no shouting, just the silent weight of her mistake hanging in the air. As he watches her, his mind is clear. He knows the path forward, the steps he's about to take, but he's not here to make her feel small. He's here to make her understand the consequences of her decision. His voice remains calm, but there's an undeniable firmness that commands attention. "Do you understand what you did yesterday?" he asks, his tone unwavering. The question isn't rhetorical, it's pointed. The manager hesitates, a lump forming in her throat. She knows what she did, and she knows it wasn't just a misstep. It was a decision driven by something far more personal and insidious. I didn't mean to cause any trouble." She stammers, her eyes flicking nervously toward the lobby, as though searching for a way out. "I just thought." David cuts her off, not out of anger, but out of necessity. "You thought it was okay to deny a paying guest a room based on the color of his skin. There's no excuse for that. Not here. Not anywhere." His words are direct, and they land with a quiet but powerful impact. The manager's face pales. Her heart begins to race. She can feel the magnitude of what she's done. The manager opens her mouth to respond, but doesn't know what to say. She knows that the hotel, with its reputation and history, cannot afford to tolerate such behavior. David, as a co-owner of a successful hotel chain, has the power to turn her world upside down. She's no longer just a manager trying to save face. She's a woman whose career is suddenly on the line. David takes a step closer to the desk, leaning slightly forward. "I don't know what you were thinking yesterday, but I do know one thing. What you did was unacceptable, and now you'll have to answer for it." His words aren't threatening, they're matter of fact. But that's what makes them even more powerful. The manager's face flushes with a mix of embarrassment and fear. Her breath comes in shallow gasps as the realization sets in. This isn't a simple misunderstanding she can sweep under the rug. This could end her career. The hotel chain has strict policies about discrimination, and now that David is involved, the spotlight is on her. She's made a costly mistake, one that could cost her everything. Her mind races as she imagines the fallout. Would she be fired? Would she be publicly humiliated? She's unsure, but the fear is unmistakable. David stands there giving her space to process. He doesn't speak immediately, allowing the weight of the moment to sink in. He's not here to destroy her, but he is here to hold her accountable. And that's exactly what she needs. Finally, she looks up, her face a mixture of regret and panic. I understand, she whispers. The manager isn't sure if it's the truth or if she's just trying to salvage whatever remains of her dignity, but the gravity of the situation is inescapable. David watches her, his expression still calm but resolute. He knows that consequences will follow, whether through formal disciplinary action or a possible termination, but he also knows that what happens next won't be just about punishing her. It's about making sure this never happens again. The hotel needs to face its own biases and take steps to ensure that no guest is ever treated this way again. As the manager sits there, her mind racing, she understands that her actions have consequences far beyond her own job. This moment, her mistake, has exposed a deeper issue, one that can't be easily fixed with a simple apology or explanation. She's caught in a larger web now, one that may cost her far more than she's willing to lose. David's actions are not driven by personal gain or the need to exact revenge for the slight he experienced. There's no bitterness in his approach, only a deep-rooted desire to send a message, one that transcends his own experience. For David, this is about something much bigger than just a hotel manager's mistake. It's about challenging the discrimination that continues to seep into industries where it should have no place, particularly in spaces like hospitality, where people from all walks of life come to feel valued and welcome. As a successful Black businessman, David has spent years navigating an industry that is often unwelcoming to people like him. He's worked hard to get to where he is, building his hotel chain from the ground up. But throughout his journey, he's faced the kind of subtle, sometimes overt discrimination that many people of color know all too well. It's the kind of bias that exists behind closed doors when decisions are made not on merit, but on preconceived notions of who belongs and who doesn't. David's rise to success has given him a platform, one that he's committed to using to bring change. He understands the power of influence and the responsibility that comes with it. His revenge isn't about ruining the life of the hotel manager, it's about making her and others in the industry recognize that actions like hers cannot be tolerated. By standing up and taking action, David is using his success to confront a system that has long allowed discrimination to thrive, often hidden behind polite smiles and courteous language. David isn't just an individual guest here to claim a small victory for himself. He's a voice for all the people who have been turned away, mistreated, or overlooked in spaces where they should have felt welcome. He knows that the hospitality industry, with its global reach and impact, has the power to shape attitudes and change minds. If leaders in the industry start recognizing the damage that such discrimination causes, then perhaps it can set a new standard for how businesses treat every individual equally, regardless of their race, background, or appearance. His approach isn't one of anger, but of action. David's message is clear. Respect and fairness should be the foundation of any business. In an industry built on the idea of hospitality, where customer service is paramount, people should never feel like they are being judged based on anything other than who they are and what they bring to the table. Business decisions should be made on merit and need not personal biases or outdated ideas of who is worthy of respect. David's story serves as a reminder that standing up to injustice is not just about confronting wrongs in the moment, but about using your platform to create lasting change. It's about ensuring that future generations don't have to experience the same biases, the same unfairness, the same struggles. The hotel manager's actions were wrong, but they are part of a larger pattern that needs to be addressed, not just for David, but for everyone who has ever been made to feel less than simply because of who they are. In business and life, fairness should always be the standard. David's actions, while driven by personal experience, are a call to action for others to stand up against discrimination and to hold businesses accountable for their choices. Equality and respect are not optional. They are the foundation of a world that works for everyone. David's story is proof that standing up to injustice, no matter the size of the battle, can make a difference in how people perceive and treat one another in business and in life. The final scene unfolds with the hotel undergoing significant changes. New signs are posted in the lobby, reading inclusive hospitality and equal treatment for all, signaling a commitment to diversity and fairness. The hotel's management has issued a public apology, acknowledging the mistake made by the manager and pledging to implement new training programs for staff to ensure that discrimination has no place in their establishment. It's a small but meaningful step toward a larger shift, one that begins with holding people accountable and ends with a business that truly serves everyone. David's actions don't just stop with this one hotel. His story sends shockwaves through the hospitality industry, inspiring other establishments to reassess their own policies and practices. More and more hotels begin to implement diversity and inclusion programs, and many businesses, big and small, start to realize that creating an environment of respect and equality is not just the right thing to do, it's also the smart thing to do. The ripple effect of David's calm but powerful actions reaches far beyond this hotel, influencing the entire industry to rethink how it handles its customers, employees, and policies. In the end, David's revenge wasn't about getting back at an individual. It was about using his platform to spark real change. Sometimes when injustice is left unchecked, it takes a bold action to start a conversation, to make people stop and think, and to ignite the kind of change that makes a lasting impact. David's quiet but firm response was the catalyst that forced this hotel and many others to take a long, hard look at how they treat people and how they can do better. If you believe in the power of standing up to injustice and creating a fairer, more respectful world, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that inspire change. Thank you for watching. Please note that the story shared in this video is fictional and not based on real events. Any resemblance to actual people or situations is purely coincidental. The purpose of this story is to highlight important themes of fairness, equality, and the impact of standing up against discrimination.